into it, I did a poll this morning in my Facebook group and asked what people were most concerned about while being at home these next few weeks. And one of the main ones was how to stay active and stay motivated, more importantly, while at home. And notice I'm not going to be using the term stuck at home because I really want to help everyone get from this mindset of scarcity to a place of abundance. And I think that's really key during this time. And we'll get into that a little bit more here in a bit. But I do think it's so important that we, instead of looking at all that we don't have right now, okay, we don't have access to a gym. That makes it a little bit harder to exercise for many people. You know, maybe we did a workout class with some coworkers during the day at work. But instead of paying attention to all these things that we don't have, how our life has been disrupted, why not look at all of the things that we do have and all of the opportunities that we have today? Because it's not going to change anything focusing on what we lack, right? It's not going to make the gyms open tomorrow. And so I think that we should instead focus on this place of abundance. So, if your actions are coming from a place of lack, okay, I don't have access to the gym, I don't have my workout partner, you know, we can't hang out. If you're really stuck on this place of lack, maybe it's not related to the gym or fitness, maybe it's related to money or time, then we get this tunnel vision. Okay, so we can't see all the opportunities there are because we're so focused on the negative and, again, what we are lacking. So I think this shift is really important. One example is if you often say, I can't afford this. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, ask yourself, how can I afford this? Okay. Or, you know, I can't go to the gym today, but what could I do instead? What resources do I have available to me right now? And we're going to go into more of that today. So this is really key here. Today, many people are living and their actions are based on this idea of scarcity, of lack. That's why people are hoarding toilet paper and buying 8 gallons of milk that are probably going to go bad, instead of collaborating and coming from this place of abundance and giving. And it is really harmful and destructive, especially during this time. So I want you to start by saying, okay, no, I can't go to the gym or do my normal workout routine, but what can I do? And I'll have some ideas and examples here in a bit. But next, I just really want to foster a positive mindset. That's where the motivation begins. So, one, coming from a place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity, focusing on what you do have versus what you don't. And next is choosing your hard. So the weather's not ideal, okay? It's Kansas or Missouri or wherever you're located. You know, we're not going to get perfect weather 24/7, but that does make us appreciate those nice days even more. So I want you to ask yourself, I want you to choose your hard. Maybe it's a little bit difficult to get motivated to get outside when it's not real sunny out. But again, we're coming from this place of abundance. It's not sunny, but it's nice enough weather. It's 45 degrees. It's not freezing. And it's not raining. It's not storming. It's not snowing. I live in a safe neighborhood where I feel comfortable walking on the sidewalks. I live in an area where there are parks close by that I can go to. So again, all that we do have available to us rather than all that we don't have, okay? And by making this extra effort to get outside, even when the weather isn't perfect and ideal, we are choosing to do that instead of having to suffer the consequences of staying where we're at and not moving and not being active, which can lead to disease and illness, suppressing our immune system and making us more susceptible to things like viruses. So choose your hard. Today, I'm going to get myself up, get my tennis shoes on. I'm going to walk out the door. I'm going to walk, even if it's only for 5 minutes, because I'm choosing this difficulty, this small, minor challenge versus long-term destructive consequences of a sedentary lifestyle. So, 1, coming from a place of abundance, not scarcity. 2, choosing your hard. Are you going to tackle a little bit of cloudy weather today? Or are you going to just sit around and stay inactive and suffer the consequences of that? So walk now or disease later, I think is kind of a good way to put it. Next is, let's get into that's the mindset piece. Now the motivation piece. It is difficult to create a new habit. If you've ever found yourself, back when we were out working our normal jobs, living our normal lifestyle, you said, I'm going to go to the gym after work today. And then next thing you know, you're in your driveway. You're like, what happened? I had made this goal of going to the gym, yet I just drove right past it, and now I'm here back at home. And that's because we are in autopilot. So many of our daily habits and routines are automatic. They're unconscious. And our brain does this for a lot of reasons, but it's to help preserve energy. And it's important that we recognize these unconscious habits and stop them in their tracks. So it's really important that we have cues to remind us that we are about to go into autopilot and to instead change the trajectory of that and take a different path. So some examples of cues. Does anybody want to comment a good example of a cue of something that can kind of trigger that new habit and remind you that, oh yeah, I decided that I was going to walk this morning instead of sit down and watch the news. So one example could be having your tennis shoes by the front door. So that's a visual cue that tells you, oh yes, I made this new goal to go walking first thing in the morning. So you see those tennis shoes and that's a cue. For some of my clients, I suggest Post-it notes around the house. So for some people, if they're tempted to go and grab that pot of coffee first thing in the morning, I'll have them put a sticky note on there and say, no, we got to have some water first. You haven't had water for 8 hours. Your body's dehydrated. That's the first thing we want to put in our body, not coffee, which is a diuretic, which ultimately makes us more dehydrated. So sometimes we have to stop these habits in their tracks, and these cues are really helpful for that. And you won't have to have sticky notes all over your home for forever, just until we develop these new habits and they become our new norm. So when it comes to exercise, having your tennis shoes laying out, making the new habit easier, the easier choice. So, for example, maybe going to sleep with your workout clothes on. So if it's a cold morning and you're finding it hard to get out of bed and finding it hard to get the motivation to change and get up, then that's just one less step to getting out the front door and going for a walk, is you already have your clothes on. Another idea is making the unhealthy habit harder to engage in. So if first thing in the morning you are plopping down on the couch to watch your news, which probably isn't doing many good things for your stress right now, then instead, maybe we hide the remote, have someone hide the remote, so that engaging in that habit, which we know is not helping us, the habit of watching the news first thing in the morning, then, it's harder because we can't find the remote. So instead, we see our tennis shoes by the door and we say, okay, this is the new habit that I'm trying to work on. I'm going to do that instead. And Sandra said you can set a timer to remind you to drink more water or obtain any new goal that you have. Have that cue on your phone. Most of us have our phones within arm's reach all day long. So if you need that extra cue, that extra reminder, you can have that go off every hour to say, hey, time to get up, time to move your body. So that is huge. So some examples of cues that you can use to your advantage are like your tennis shoes, setting them out, having your workout clothes on. So that's just one less step to engage in that activity and that healthy behavior. Post-it notes as another visual reminder, just telling you, hey, time to get up, time to move. And then, timers and things like that can be really helpful as well. Using the reminder app on your Apple phone. If you have smartwatches, these will buzz at you if you've been sitting for too long. Maybe instead of ignoring that little buzz, actually paying attention to it and trying to at least stand for 1 minute. And this is another good way to motivate yourself. So many people try to create new habits and create a goal of going to the gym 6 days a week for an hour and a half. That's a really big goal. And chances are, if you're stuck in a lot of other old habits that we're working to eliminate, then, we're going to want to start small when it comes to creating this new goal. Because if we don't reach that goal, then we're going to feel discouraged and we're not going to feel as motivated. We're going to feel a little bit defeated. So if we start with a small goal, even something as small as standing for 2 minutes every hour, then, once we get those small wins and we keep building up those small wins over time, then our motivation continues and our momentum continues. Versus we set this huge goal and we don't reach it and then we're just like, I'm a failure. I failed again. Maybe this just isn't for me, right? So keep your goals smaller and realistic and just reevaluate each week. How can I increase this just a little bit to push myself just a little bit more? So I think that that's a really big one for motivation. So start with something small, even as small as standing, even a step goal as small as 3,000 steps if you're averaging, 2,500 now. Just little tiny changes. All right, let's see. What's next for motivation? Accountability is huge. So that's really a huge part of what I do, is I am an accountability partner for my clients. Anyone can go online and find a workout plan. You can have a trainer send you a workout plan, do X, Y, and Z every day, and you will have a six-pack. But we need someone checking in, saying, hey, how's it going today? Are you finding it difficult to engage in these new behaviors? If so, why? Think about when you were a kid. You had to be reminded by your parents to brush your teeth because this was a new behavior, one that you hadn't established yet, and you didn't really see the value in it yet as a child, how important it was to keep your teeth. And so your parents had to be nagging at you and reminding you constantly to brush those teeth. But after a while, you started to realize, my mouth feels a lot better when I brush my teeth, and, mom's not yelling at me as much when I just do that thing on my own, and I feel better when my teeth are brushed. And after a while, you don't need those reminders from your parents to engage in those healthy behaviors, like eating your vegetables too. So having an accountability partner is huge. So if you have a coworker who has similar goals and values as you, then maybe you guys can check in with one another. Right now, you guys could FaceTime each other, and maybe you could do a YouTube workout video together, just kind of encouraging each other along the way. I know that my friend Sandra, my friend Jessica, and Mylan, I have a lot of people who I compete with on my Apple Watch. So I can go and I can check and see throughout the day where everyone's steps are at. And it's good motivation to kind of keep you going. And sometimes we take it one step further to remind each other that we can see how many steps you're getting each day by texting one another and saying, hey, good job today. I saw you got in a workout already this morning. Nice job. So those little cues, those little reminders, that accountability can be absolutely essential. So if you don't have someone at home who can help motivate you, who you can create mutual goals with, then there are online communities, there are Facebook groups with people who can help motivate you. There is a new app I just learned about called StepBet. And StepBet, it's basically you put a little bit of money in, and there's thousands of people around the world who are putting a little bit of money into this pot. And if you reach your step goal over a certain amount of days, then you get a little bit of money back from this pot. And those people who didn't reach their step goal, they lose their money. They don't get that money back. And so there's opportunity for you then to get even more money because you're getting some of that money from the pot that those people who didn't reach their goals are leaving in there. So I know for a lot of people, there's probably some financial stress right now, a lot of uncertainty about your jobs and financial security. So that's just a fun way to stay motivated. And if money is a good motivator for you, then maybe that would be a good option. But there's something for everyone out there. So either find a workout buddy, find an online challenge to help motivate you. There's tons of apps. Smartwatches are huge for that. And just stick with it. Talk to someone and really commit to making these changes together. That can be huge. All right, so we've talked about how to create these new habits, cues, motivators, things like that, accountability partners, challenges. If you're kind of a perfectionist, having a calendar where you handwrite on there, you put this right on your fridge, and every day that you meet your goal, you put a big sticker under that day. And if it would really irk you to not have a sticker in there one day, if that's enough motivation for you to get outside and walk for 5 minutes or do a 5-minute, 10-minute yoga video, then do that. Again, what has worked for you in the past? Think about it. Think about what's worked for you in the past and kind of revisit that to help remotivate you. All right, cool. And again, guys, feel free to share comments if you have any other ideas or any other questions related to what I'm talking about today. Comment them below. I can see them and I will respond to them as best I can. But next, I really wanted to get into the take action. So we talked about mindset. We talked about motivators. Now I want to talk about actually taking action, the how. Okay, we've gotten into the why. Now let's get into the how. Again, instead of saying, hey, it's cloudy outside, forget it, I'm not walking, thinking instead, hey, it's 45 degrees, it's not freezing, it's not raining, it's not snowing. In order to get my steps in, really all I need to do is throw on some shoes and a coat and walk out the front door. Okay? That's one way to get active when you're stuck at home and you don't have access to a gym. Some other ways are YouTube videos. So fortunately, we have access to the internet and there are just millions and millions of free resources out there based on whatever you're into. So if you're really just starting out and you're not prepared to do Sweat with Kayla, the body weight, those are pretty advanced. Just start with a walking video. And Jessica Smith, she is wonderful. She has lots of great walking videos on YouTube. Low impact, if you have knee injuries or any kind of joint pain, can be really good for beginners to do the Jessica Smith walking video. She has videos anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And, just walking in place or walking in a circle around your house can get kind of boring and that repetitive movement might not feel so good on your joints. But she has a lot of great different variations of walking that can help kind of keep it fresh and interesting and reduce the impact on your joints. So that's a good one. YouTube videos. Also, Yoga with Adriene is one of my favorite yoga YouTubers. And again, anything from a 10-minute yoga video to an hour-long yoga video. Remember, we want to start small when we're first starting out, because if we set these huge goals and we don't meet them, that's going to be discouraging. That's going to lower our motivation and momentum. So maybe start with a 10-minute yoga video twice a week. And it's just as easy as typing in easy yoga video for beginners. Even one of my favorites to do before bed to reduce stress and kind of unwind is doing restorative yoga or yin yoga, Y-I-N yoga. And it's basically just laying there in these positions for about 5 minutes where you're opening up your hips, you're opening up your heart, and really just helping to calm your nervous system and moving your joints in a way that helps them to become more flexible and less rigid. And so that's really a good place to start if you're concerned about your ability to do yoga or some of those other videos at this time. Easy, restorative yin yoga is a really good place to start. And if you guys have more ideas for yoga videos, comment them below, or any kind of YouTube videos, comment them below. But really just type in 10-minute walking video for beginners, 10-minute body weight workout for beginners. There's going to be something that's going to pop up for you. All right, we talked about the different apps that can be really helpful. And also another thing to do is just writing down a list of things to get done around the house. So I called this video staying active, not getting your workout in or exercising every day, because it's so much better. There are so many more benefits for our body and for our blood sugars when we are consistently moving throughout the day versus just having one 30-minute window in the day when we're being active, and then the rest of the day we're sitting, right? It's much better to break that up over the course of the day. So we're trying to focus on overall physical activity, not just planned exercise. While that planned, more intense, maybe exercise can have a lot of benefits cardiovascularly and things like that, if you're just starting out, and especially if you're at home most of the day, really focusing on moving every hour. And I put in my Facebook group, my private Facebook group, ways to make a standing desk. So even standing versus sitting, you have to engage a lot more of your muscle groups. And it's a lot better for your spine and for your joints just to be standing instead of sitting. So if you can work from your kitchen countertop for a little bit throughout the day, stack some books up on your desk to make it so that your computer is up and you can stand and work for a little bit, that can have a big impact on your overall health and boost your metabolism some too. So next is just looking at the opportunities to move. So instead of having a big, huge glass of water like this, that you can sip on all day long, maybe just using a little tiny glass of water, and that way you're forced to go downstairs, refill it every hour, and then come back up. So try to think of those little opportunities to move more and get your blood flowing more, and keep those muscles engaged. So some others are, again, a list of things you can do around the house. So Sandra, I know that you cleaned your closet yesterday. You know you weren't going to really have an opportunity to go to the gym. And so you said, what can I do from my home? So you can easily get some bands on Amazon, and you can look up some band workouts. But you can also reduce stress and stay active by, again, cleaning out your closet, vacuuming the house. You can also listen to an audiobook while you're walking outside, if that makes it a little more enjoyable for you. Cleaning out your pantry or fridge. Again, just activities around the house that are going to keep you up and moving. Not necessarily a 20-minute sprint around the block, but just opportunities to be standing and squatting and lifting and doing all of those natural movements are going to have a lot of benefits. So can you guys think of anything you could do around your house that would maybe help you to reduce stress and move more at the same time? Maybe you've been staring at the scum on the shower for a couple months now, knowing that that's been needing to get done, but you've been putting it off. But now that we know, we can look at it as an opportunity to move as well as clean. And since we're kind of stuck at home, then that can make it more enjoyable to be at home, not having to stare at the messy space too. So just think of different opportunities there, whether it's cleaning the closet, whether it's organizing the kids' drawers, but just looking at every opportunity to move your body more is really huge. And again, if you can make your own standing desk and try to stand like 2 minutes out of the hour, that has a surprising amount of benefits. So do what you can there. And 2 more things I want to mention is reflection. So this is the last main point I want to make. We talked about mindset, we talked about motivation, we talked about taking action, and now I want to talk about reflection. So this is really that reward for engaging in these healthy behaviors. So we have our cue, which is the sticky notes that says, hey Becky, don't forget you're gonna go walking this morning. And we get that cue and we say, oh yeah, we're gonna walk today instead of sit and watch the news. Then our action is walking outside, maybe walking with the dog. And then the reward of that is potentially less stress because we are releasing more endorphins, those feel-good hormones in our brain. And we are also reducing our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, when we are being active and moving our body. So that's our reward. We just mentally and physically, we feel better, okay? So instead of, starting our morning with the news, which right now is probably triggering some stress and anxiety, in a lot of people. And then maybe that anxiety triggers unhealthy eating habits. And then the reward, I guess, of that is temporary relief, temporary feel-good feelings, but ultimately followed by guilt. So notice these cycles and consider the rewards of engaging in those healthier habits, like cleaning out your pantry instead of sitting and watching Netflix, or going on a walk instead of watching the news. Think of the rewards. Think of how you feel afterwards and really reflect, because that's what is going to make these things stick. Your brain is going to register, oh, wow, so when I go for a walk, I then feel less stressed, my joints feel better, I just feel better. I feel more energized when I go for a walk. I have all of these benefits when I do this behavior versus that behavior. So really take the time after you do a little yoga video, after you stand a little bit throughout your workday versus sitting the whole time. When you go for a walk with the dog, think about, how do I feel afterwards? Because it can be really hard when you're struggling to get motivated. If you're focusing on how you feel before the exercise, maybe you lack energy, maybe you're feeling a little stressed and overwhelmed, and that can make it hard to engage in that behavior. But if instead we really focus on and emphasize the after effects, every time I go for a walk, I always feel better afterwards. Remembering that. Remembering how energized you feel, how, revived you feel, that can be really helpful. So I don't know anyone who can say that they have regretted a workout or just regretted moving more. And so I think that is something to keep in mind. Stay motivated and engage in these behaviors. Remember that habit loop. So yeah, I think that was pretty much all I had today. So again, just some reminders when it comes to fostering a positive mindset. Instead of looking at going for a walk or cleaning out the pantry and these things as an inconvenience, look at it as an opportunity to promote good health, right? So by investing in these healthy behaviors, we are going to then improve our health in the long run. So remembering that. Also, coming from a place of abundance, what do I have? What opportunities do I have? What resources do I have? Looking at all that you have versus all that you don't have, which I think a lot of people are stuck on right now. And also just choosing your heart. Do I want the challenge of going for a 10-minute walk today, even though the weather's not perfect? Would I rather have this challenge than the challenge of disease and illness down the road? So choose your heart. Next is motivation. Knowing that a lot of the habits that we engage in throughout the day are unconscious. We're in autopilot. They're automatic, and they require very little thinking. So stopping that automatic behavior, that unconscious behavior, and bringing more awareness to it using cues. So sticky notes. Again, sticky notes maybe on your bathroom mirror. Hey, instead of picking up the remote and watching the news this morning, why don't we take the dog for a walk? Remember how good you felt yesterday when you did that. And putting your tennis shoes by your bed so you can just slip them right on and head out the front door. Having apps, using the reminder app on your Apple phone, or a timer on your phone to go off and remind you, hey, you've been sitting for an hour, time to get up and move your body a little bit. These cues are really important for developing those new habits and becoming more conscious of your behaviors. And third is just taking action. So what works for you? Just because your friend is doing this CrossFit challenge, if that's not your thing, then know that, honor that, and find something that works for you, that motivates you, that feels good for you. And maybe that's yoga. Maybe that's walking outside. Maybe it's a walking video on YouTube, or simply going up and down your stairs a few extra times a day. What works for you? What's worked for you in the past? And hopefully you can find an accountability partner who has similar goals and values, and you guys can help motivate each other to keep the momentum going. So take action. Remember, it's not just about planned, intense exercise, but overall physical activity over the course of the day. So taking every opportunity you can to stand and move can be huge. And then lastly is reflecting on how you feel after engaging in these behaviors. So maybe you were about to go to the doctor because your knees were aching really bad. But after moving more, you realize, my knees, there's nothing wrong with my knees. I just needed to move my body more. I wasn't getting enough blood flow. I wasn't engaging my muscles enough. They were in an uncomfortable position for hours over the course of the day, an unnatural position. Of course they're gonna hurt. It's not that my body has problems. It's that I just need to move more. So reflect on how these activities make you feel. And recognizing these rewards is really what helps the brain to remember them and revert back to these in times of stress and hardship. So your brain will eventually recognize, these sugars, when I was feeling stressed, I would eat these foods, and it'd feel better for a minute, but then I would just feel all this guilt, and it's not helping with my weight and my blood sugars and all of that. But when I go for a walk when I'm feeling stressed, I actually feel better. And I know I'm doing something good for my body, and it isn't connected to all of this guilt afterwards, but instead feelings of motivation and better energy. So take time to reflect and remember these things so that your brain can remember and start to carve these new pathways and create these new habits. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this has been helpful for everyone. And, just do your best. Be kind to yourself. And just remember to come from a place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity. Remember all that you do have. There are people out there who can't walk. They can't just go out their front door and go for a walk down the block. But if you can, if you have access to Wi-Fi to watch YouTube videos, have all these things, then use them to your advantage. And again, just do the best you can. All right, everyone, thank you so much. I will put a link in the comments below, and if you want to sign up for a free coaching call with me, we can go into a little bit more detail about what is going to work for you and your unique lifestyle and how to start developing these healthy habits for yourself. And next time, I know there is a lot of interest in stress management and how to reduce stress. I touched on that a little bit today, but I will go into more detail on that in my next video. All right, thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day and be well.